Oh, thank you. With great power comes great responsibility.
Handle the mouse correctly.
Whoops.
Ahoy, laddie.
Your laddie has been ahoyed. So welcome to Flatlands Podcast. Today I thought it'd be
So
pretty
enthusiastic.
good. So enthused. So what would you do scenarios?
Ooh. What would you do for a what would you do scenario?
I don't know.
So, Jonathan,
Oh, I'm starting it.
just because I feel like we can get the best reaction. What would you do if you woke up in another country, surrounded by no one?
Okay.
That's all. Surrounded by no one that spoke English, and the exact clothes you're in right now. You just randomly woke up there.
And
What
in a country that
would you do in a non-English speaking country?
I'd try to find someone who spoke English. That'd be my first priority
And
to figure out where the fuck I'm at. So that way I know exactly what's going on. Because I want to know, why am I still in the same clothes? And the last time I knew, I was recording a podcast episode, and now I'm all of a sudden in bumfuck middle of nowhere.
Bumfuck surrounded by.
Sounds like a survival game show I used to watch. These 5 guys would pick up one of their random friends and they'd drop them in the middle of nowhere with whatever they were wearing that day.
That's hot.
Could be.
Especially if it's, summer.
Yep. In the right place. So what would you do?
Like I already said that. You just weren't paying attention.
No, I wasn't.
You just were paying attention.
No, I really wasn't. I was having a conversation with somebody else on my phone, unfortunately.
Wow.
It was an important conversation.
Wow.
You can go talk to Chris about interrupting the podcast
Oh, well.
because he's the one who's doing it.
So, Steven, what would you do?
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Just look at your phone.
Yeah, look at my watch and be like, who the...
See, if that was the case. Well, no, because if you're overseas like that and you're in a different country, there could be different cell service, right? So then your phone may not work at all, and you just be like, SOL, shit out of luck. So then you're not able to check anything. You're not able to see exactly where you are. You don't know what the
True.
fuck is going on.
Right.
So what would you do if you woke up, as Josh said, in those same clothes?
Damn, I'm missing a shoe then.
You can have that one back, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as I get that one back, we're good.
You
Yeah.
get you
My
get-
counterweight shoe.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'd just start walking around, find out where the fuck I'm at somehow.
That's what I would do.
Yeah. There's nothing else you can do.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you want to lie there and be like, well, I guess I'm dying here today.
Mhm.
Right.
That's what Josh would do.
Yeah.
Just starve to death in one
Starve to
spot.
death. I would become one with the country.
Become one with the country.
Become
By
one with
dying
the
and
country.
decomposing in the ground.
Oh,
Exactly.
there you go.
Exactly. Pick up on their language. Marry me a girl there.
Marry you a girl there.
Yeah.
Very well.
And then randomly have one of y'all, because y'all would be the ones that dropped me off there.
How do you know we did it?
Yeah. You just showed up randomly in another
Who
country.
else?
Who else would have done it? Probably someone who doesn't like you.
Yeah.
Or just somebody that wants to have a fun little prank, and it's probably already there in the country just watching
Now,
you. See
Steven,
how
I don't
you
know. I don't know
react.
about you, but the way Josh said that sounds a little salty, doesn't it?
Yes, it
A little
does.
salty.
He's a little salty about pranks that have been done to him. I haven't done a prank to you.
No.
The only real time we've ever hung out besides this podcast is him blowing a fucking tire. So it sure as hell isn't me.
No.
So why would we be the ones who would have pranked you in another country?
Just seems like
Something we would do?
possibly.
Is that what you're saying? So you're saying we do kidnapping and extortion. Can you believe that, Steven?
No.
He is accusing us
Accusing.
of kidnapping him.
Uh-huh.
And dropping him off in another country.
Yeah. If anything, I just kidnap him and then
Actually, you know
tickle
what?
his pickle and then let him go.
Actually, I just thought about this.
Hmm.
We wouldn't have to put him in a random country. He'd get lost and end up there on his own anyways.
This is true. We'd tell him to come to the studio and he'd be like, guys,
I'm in Africa, I think.
He'd be like, I'm here. Where are you?
I don't know. The sun is shining and it's really hot out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Sounds like Texas, but the sun's not up right now.
Yeah.
Now that we know exactly what y'all would do in a random country, what if you could be famous but poor forever? What would you do?
So basically, I'd be like
Ben
majority
Affleck.
of.
He's actually poor but famous.
Basically, I'd be like, a lot of celebrities.
Pretty
Mhm.
much
Yeah.
It sucks to be famous and poor,
famous.
but
and poor.
I'd be
But
famous.
you'd keep up the image really good though.
Yes, that fake illusion of luxury they have. Imagination.
And today on Reading Rainbow,
Yeah, I'm reading Rainbow.
Today on Steven's Corner.
Yeah, no more adult Cat in the Hat.
Oh, man.
If you could say a single sentence that the entire world could hear, the moment you say it, what would you say?
I'll let Steven answer that one first.
I don't even know, actually.
Penis!
He said sentence, not a exclamation.
No.
Yes. Suck my penis.
That's an exclamation
That's an
again.
exclamation.
Yes.
Not just a sentence.
Slap your grandma and slap me sideways. I don't fucking... I don't fucking have a clue.
What the heck was that?
I don't know.
Okay.
It'd be memorable, though.
Okay, so
Yeah, it would
I cue slap grandma, and then I slap you sideways. Duly noted.
I'd be like, just give me money.
give me money.
Give me money.
Yeah.
Give me money.
Give me money.
I'm broke.
I'm broke, bitch.
That'd be the line for the podcast, wouldn't it?
Thinking in, history, I'm pretty sure there's something that we would all think that we could probably wish we could change,
Yes.
do things differently.
Steven
Would
and I
you?
have a lot of those scenarios.
Yeah, I got two right at the top of my head right now.
Mm-hmm.
All
And
right.
I'm not afraid to name fucking names on this podcast for it either, because fuck it.
Fuck it. So
Fuck it.
if you had
Like
the
a bucket.
chance to change,
Get like a bucket.
I love how Josh just now got it.
we've already acknowledged that today's been a slow day for me.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think the day has been slow. It's you have been slow.
Your whole life,
My whole life I've been slow.
your existence.
Hey, but listen,
You were a slow spur. The only reason
The only one because the rest died off first.
No, the only reason you did it is because they felt bad for him.
They felt bad.
This is what happens when you get two family members in the same room.
Those of you listening to the podcast world, I am now flipping them both off. 2-for-1 special.
Even those who listen to all the YouTube world, because we don't have a video of this. So
we don't
yet.
yet. No.
Not yet.
One day there might be a camera there and a camera over there.
And
but
a camera up there, and a camera down there, and a camera
as you
over
hit
here,
the-
and a camera
You're
everywhere.
going to be seeing everything.
A camera
I do
strapped
have-
to my penis.
I do have GoPros, but no, we're not going to
Could
do
you
that.
imagine that? Just looking up at your face. I would love to do that for one day. Just put a camera on my dick
And see what you
just to see what my dick
then,
sees.
And then you watch it as it gets hard. Gets hard. Gets hard.
Uh-oh. The
'Cause I
camera
would love
angles.
to see what
the
my dick
angle's
sees.
changing.
You know, just see what my dick sees at a given day.
It's no longer looking
Strap
at
it
your
on
feet.
while you're asleep at night.
I see you try to get attacked by a cat.
Watch bumper.
Oh, he's done that before. Like, well, he hasn't swatted, but he got really damn close. Like,
Okay.
it was like, no. Oh yeah, no, do that.
Okay. Back to what you were saying.
All right. So, if you were given the chance, one opportunity to change one thing in your past,
Let's imagine that.
not necessarily,
Well, so does it have to be in our past, or can it be in the past in
just
general?
past, like anything in general.
Okay,
If you
Okay.
wanted something to change, if you wanted slavery to never happen, it's boom, you change it.
right.
If you
But
want,
you said your past. That wouldn't technically be his past.
So it doesn't have.
Okay,
Does it,
in the
does it
past.
have to?
We'll,
so
we'll,
in the
we'll
past
make it
in general.
general.
Okay.
Still, so
Okay.
in the past, if you can change anything, and you're even in that option, you can change something in your life too if you wanted to.
So now,
Just anything.
does the butterfly effect still count?
Yes,
Okay,
that's
so,
the deal. It's would you change that?
So you can change
Risking
something, risking the butterfly effect.
Risking that your parents may never meet, therefore you no longer existing, but you've already
I already
altered
know
it.
what I
But
would
that would
change.
go into the paradox, though. That would go into the paradox because if you did something back in past that caused you to no longer exist, therefore you couldn't have gone back in the past to change that.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can just think like, the way Marvel does, and you just created
An
it.
alternate reality.
Yes.
Well, I already know what I would change.
Well, see, that one thing you and I talked about briefly that one time,
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say that was briefly.
it was pretty brief.
Depends on which briefly thing we're talking about. We have a lot of brief things.
It could go in so many different directions.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like when you take this soul stone, this reality happens, you take this one, not happen. Yeah.
Yeah, but like if we went into World War One and we actually gave some guy real legitimate.
My helmet's sitting on my dining table right now.
Yeah, so like if we were to go back in time to World War One and give one dude an actual modern day helmet, and let's say that saved that guy's life, who knows how much the world could have changed?
Even if it only kept him alive for like a week longer.
Just so he could fuck his wife and then watch we're stupid rich because of that.
Or if you went and killed Adolf Hitler,
But what if
Or
we saved
helped
that one dude
Valkyrie.
in World War One, and because that
Be
one dude got
successful.
saved, Hitler was never drafted into the military, so he never served. So he was never around people with those extreme ideologies.
Right.
And because of that, let's say because of that, his parents also were more supportive of him because the person who survived became friends with them. So then they became more supportive of Hitler's artwork. So then he actually got accepted into the art school. So he never became Hitler.
So is this what you're going to change? That's going to be your answer to his question?
That's just that one guy from World War I.
Yeah, but is this your question? You would go back and change that guy's life by saving his life?
Because then that would affect my life too. Because what if then Bitchface was never born because of that? And because Bitchface was never born, I never had anything to worry about. So boom, suck it, fuck it, I don't care. And what if I was stupid rich because of that, right? Like I just come back from the past and I'm like, holy shit, I got this mansion and I'm fucking basically Bruce goddamn Wayne and Iron Man combined. And I'm just like,
but hold up here. What if you weren't able to return back to the future? You had to like finish out basically like a one-way trip to the past to change that deal.
Then I'd go back to tomorrow.
I'd be fine. I'm only going back
because
like 4 or 5 years.
What if the stipulation was you can't go back to a time where you existed?
Hold on. What if you could go back to, like, let's say a couple years ago, and I am 26 now, so I would go back, be 26 at that time, but then I don't age until I get back to my normal age.
That would be badass.
It
would be, yeah.
Because you could go all the way back to the 1800s and live all the way through the 1800s at 26.
You'd basically be Wolverine without the claws.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, until you hit your normal age back.
And then you'd be the movie Logan.
There you go.
But since you can't age, could you die?
I would say you probably could.
Yeah, I think you could. Because you're just stopping the aging process. You're not taking away
You're technically not necessarily immortal. Could you imagine? You could become a god. Like, go all the way back to ancient Egypt and be like, bitch, I've been alive longer than you've been Pharaoh, bitch. Right. I don't give a fuck. You know?
But could you imagine going back to a time like that, knowing what you know today about technology and everything like that?
I don't think
implementing that.
We'd actually have flying cars now.
We'd have flying cars now.
Yes. Or teleportation devices and
So if we would
advance civilization.
Fuck yeah. We could walk through a door and be anywhere we wanted.
You know what we need to do with this topic? This specific topic right here? We need to bring Jory back. So that way we could talk to him. Like if we were able to bring all this shit he knows about space. So you want your jerk rhombus now. A jerk rhombus.
That's what you said in the last one.
I didn't say jerk rhombus.
You said you didn't like jerk triangles.
You didn't like squares. Okay, you said that would be a rhombus.
Yeah. Anyway, if we had him here, if we had Jory here, he could talk about like the space shit that we have today. But if we brought that back to ancient Egypt times and built that and helped them find all that shit and do that, and then came back here, like imagine if we could give them iPhones and Samsung Galaxies at that time, and we were able to launch the satellites we needed at that time. Imagine that shit. Those motherfuckers back then be driving regular cars. And then we come back to our time.
We won't even be on this earth anymore.
Right? We'd be like, I'm on Earth. Yeah, but you actually live off of this fucking thing way over there. Like, holy shit.
How far away is that? Like 2,000 light years? Like wait, what?
Shit. How long does it take to get there? Oh, it just only takes like 2 minutes because you do this little loop-de-loop thing.
Yep.
What? Okay, so back to you, Joshy Poo. What would you do?
What would I do? It's something I never thought about.
He asked us
the question. And he didn't even have his own thing.
Don't even have my own
He had plenty of time.
I know, right?
Time. You know me. I'm slow.
You are officially a host on Flatlands the podcast.
Flatlands.
And you don't even know.
Don't even know.
I mean, we don't even know, but usually we know that we don't know. But you
know?
Didn't even know.
I don't even know the way.
Do you know the way?
Do you know the way? I do not know the way. Thank you.
That's almost touching.
Not that big of a gap.
You're a shoeless person.
Yeah. All right. So what would you do if you could go back in time?
If I could go back in time, I'd probably do the same thing. Prevent Hitler from becoming the Hitler that we know of today.
Okay, so you guys
is somebody who could take his place quite easily.
That is true. Because you could always, just like how you've seen how Hollywood's tried to describe it, change one thing and you're cause something else.
The butterfly effect, yeah. Because even then though, Goebbels, he was just as bad, if not worse than Hitler was.
Right.
He could have rose to power.
Yeah. And that's why whenever they were trying to assassinate Hitler, they said, not only do you have to assassinate Hitler, you got to take out these other guys below him too. You basically have to wipe out
the entire top.
Yeah.
But see, then also too, you got Stalin right there. So would you stop Stalin or would you stop Lenin from actually becoming? Because then without Lenin, there was no Stalin. because Lenin's the one who started,
right?
Who took over after the Russian Revolution.
Like how this is now a history podcast.
But even though, like, you know, Stalin was in power, we were able to kind of keep him in check. Point. Would there being no Hitler? Would he be more?
But also, if there was no Hitler, would there have been World War II that would have sparked that Cold War between the two?
I think the Cold War probably still would have happened because he'd been more aggressive.
But at the same time, he saw how aggressive we were.
But at the same time,
but since we weren't showing our aggression, with no Hitler, there was no reason for U.S.
But would Japan still happen?
That is the excellent question.
Which basically means we are delaying World War II by
rather
a
than
year
being,
or more.
Right.
Rather than being an actual World War II, it's just a Pacific War.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know if Japan would still happen because the reason why
Japan was already expanding prior to Hitler.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So would they have still been doing their imperial expansion?
It's probably
without Hitler going, you guys want to help me take over the world.
Yeah. And then that's when we kind of stepped in by putting the sanctions and stuff on Japan.
Yeah. But would that still have happened because they would have still been wanting to expand?
Would Pearl Harbor still happen?
That's the thing.
No. That's the thing to change. Would you change how Pearl Harbor, you know, how they were getting all the intel in that Japan was going to strike and stuff like that. They just didn't know where.
Mm-hmm.
But if you could go back and say they're going to strike Pearl Harbor
on December 7th, 1941.
If you can say that and convince them that it was going to happen, would you do that? And for them to take the battleships out or, you know, move their Navy out? Because in a way they said, while it was a bad thing, they were all
But the good that came out of it was we didn't have our carriers there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they also didn't strike vital oil supply.
Right. Yeah.
That would have crippled us even further, even though we still had our battleships.
But if we could convince them that was going to happen, we might have been able to ambush them on the route in.
This is true. Also, too, then that unusual aircraft spotted on radar would have immediately been picked up as enemy, rather than thinking that was just a Sunday flight that they were doing for some reason.
Yep.
Now, if you were able to foil their plan completely, would that butterfly effect into something else?
I don't know, because if the Cold War didn't happen, would 9/11 have happened? Because without the Cold War, then there was no proxy wars in Afghanistan and the Middle East between Russia and the U.S.
Would there be any nuclear weapons?
I could see nuclear weapons being inevitable.
But like later, like further down.
Yeah, we may have delayed it a little bit.
Or nuclear energy would have been discovered without it being weaponized first.
Mm-hmm.
I could see it being like powering the carriers and the subs, but not used as an explosive device. I could see that. But at the same time, would it have progressed as quickly as like the technology of nuclear technology would have progressed as quickly without the Cold War? Both sides were developing nuclear technology like a motherfucker to try to one up the other.
Yep.
So they put massive research into that shit. Like the US and Russia both had secret cities. You could not go in and you could not leave because in that city was where they were developing, you know, all that shit. So it's like, would we have the technology of nuclear energy that we do today? But at the same time, would 9/11 have happened because we weren't meddling in the Middle East, supplying them to fight the Russians, and then those guys, the extremists, then attacked us? Or would that still would have happened, but later down the line or earlier?
And if there was no 9/11, then would there still been an ISIS?
Because see, like Al-Qaeda was one of the groups that was fighting the Russians initially, and they became radicalized. And then they obviously, you know, were the ones who initiated the attack.
Right.
So would they have even been formed to the Al-Qaeda and Taliban? Would they have even formed, which then removing them from power, those guys no longer a part of it formed ISIS, and ISIS then rose to power. So if those groups weren't there to do that, and there was no disruption to the Middle East, is the way we know it now, would any of that have happened?
That's the question.
That is the question.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Stephen?
That's something I don't even really know where to begin because that butterfly effect could change so much.
Yeah.
Could make it worse or better.
Right, yeah. We're thinking of good shit.
Right.
Yeah.
But stopping Pearl Harbor could have made it even worse.
It could have, yeah.
Because they could have been like, fuck it, we'll just bypass Pearl Harbor and let's go bomb LA.
Right.
And also San Francisco has a military
installation. And even
there,
if we stop Pearl Harbor physically, it doesn't mean that we're stopping World War II. We just started it maybe a little bit earlier by a few days.
Because then we would have officially attacked.
Yeah, we would have attacked first at that point.
Yeah.
Because technically we would have initiated the war because they were just flying and we came in and just took them out. So,
And could that have been
But
used
you
as anti-American propaganda in the sense that it made them
which
actually
could have
rise
made
up
us
and made us
deteriorate faster than we currently are.
Yeah, because we were able to use that as propaganda to pull more people, and also
Mhm.
then the draft.
And
then
it
we
would have
went
been the
after
other
it.
way around.
Yeah, it could have been the other way around, where they're like, "Oh, so America decided to be the aggressor, even though yes, they were planning the attack, but since it was secretive, not even their people knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been a thing like we were just flying and they attacked us."
And the same side of the coin, we could have just said, well, they entered into our international water. I guess if that's what it's called or something like our.
Well,
international
also, too, I don't know.
airspace.
Was in World War II time frame, did they have that 12 miles off the coast?
Well, even then, if we were to ambush them flying over to Pearl Harbor anyways, we'd be in international airspace regardless.
I know what I'm saying, but because that's a NATO thing, isn't it, or a World Summit thing, where it's a
Something like that.
it's like 12 miles off the coast is your sovereign
But
waters.
Did NATO come after?
That's what I'm saying. So like
Right, so there
around
was
that
no
time,
NATO.
was there no?
There may not have been.
As
Yeah.
long as you're not physically touching the land, if you're in the water, you're not on.
They might have claimed maybe a mile for like beaches and stuff,
Yeah.
but I don't see that being what it is now. But that's what I'm saying. Regardless if that was there or not, we still would have attacked them in international airspace. Because,
And that would have been an act of war.
Yep, because then they wouldn't have entered our airspace.
But
We would
also,
have attacked them
too,
before that.
Either way, there's no, World Summit to fight that at that time yet.
Yeah,
Right.
Which
So there's no World Summit for us to, or no UN
We'd have to
for us to
answer
defend and go like, no, we weren't. They were the aggressors. We were just defending ourselves.
Right.
Because any way you look at it, it could be we were the ones because we were the aggressors because we went out and met them. Because they could have just been flying to fly, which would have made no sense.
The only
but-
thing that we could have done to not come across as the aggressor is flown out there, met up with them, and then just flew with them, above them or something, and waited for them to do something, and kind of just basically show them that
Surveillance
we're
them?
here. You fuck with us, we're already here to fuck with you.
But then would that still have worked out though? Because at the time, the planes we had versus the Zeros were vastly inferior.
True.
And it was because in response to the Zeros, we developed better fighters. Would we have been able to even stop them to begin with?
Because you had the Zeros, then you'd have their kamikaze.
Well, see, the kamikaze wasn't at Pearl Harbor yet. Kamikaze was for the end of the Pacific War
Right.
when they were losing. So
So
would we?
the last desperate attempt.
Yeah. So there wouldn't have been kamikaze at that time. Would that have still happened? That's something to take into consideration, though, if you're going to go and change the fucking past.
Oh yeah.
Because the past is
If the butterfly effect actually
Mhm.
is the thing, if you can do it without doing it, if you can eliminate Hitler without anything changing,
Mhm.
that'd be a different story.
Well, because it literally is like that movie called The Butterfly Effect.
Mm-hmm.
With Ashton Kutcher in it. Have you ever seen it?
No.
Okay. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah,
Yeah. It's a trippy movie, dude.
it is.
You should watch it. It's actually really good. It's trippy
Yeah.
as fuck.
I'm a
'Cause-
huge fan of Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah, because he writes in this journal, right? And he can transport back in time.
Mm-hmm.
And when he finally realizes that's what he's fucking doing, he changes things. That would be for the better. But it wind up causing this other thing to happen. So this one person who was innocent wind up getting hurt for it. Another one, he got this girlfriend, but the result was this other person who was innocent and got hurt for it. Or this other thing, he didn't do something because he's like, oh, we don't want to do that. And then these other
And-
people got hurt for it.
Whenever he'd realize the innocent person getting hurt, he would try to go back again to change it to where they wouldn't get hurt, and he would fix their deal, but like
Fuck
it
something
would
else.
mess
Cause
somebody else
bigger
up.
problems. Yeah.
Yep. And then at the end, I don't even remember exactly how it ended, but at the end, everything was really fucked and there was like no way for him to actually go back and fix it. So that's the thing is like, if you did fuck up, would you be able to do like on that Family Guy episode where they kept going back and telling all those dudes to stop?
Mm-hmm.
Would you actually be able to do that or not? Or would it be like, well, you fucked up here. Yeah, you can go back in time, but you're never going to be able to go back in time and make what happened can actually happen.
Basically, all you're doing is like the Terminator movies. You're delaying the inevitable.
Yeah.
Somebody else will just rise into that position. It may not be right away. It may be earlier, and it may be later.
Mm-hmm.
You're just changing who it is, and the severity depends on also who the person is.
Have y'all ever seen the Amazon series Man in the White Castle or some shit? High
I've
Castle,
heard
Man
of
in
it,
the
but
High Castle or
I've
something.
never seen it.
I've never seen it either.
All right. Well, basically, it's a alternate version or alternate universe. Whereas if Germany would have won World War II,
Mm-hmm.
and then how Germany and Japan would basically divide the world between each other, and they kind of divide United States, whereas like the California area would have been controlled by Japan, and then Germany would control like probably about up to that area. and he'd still be alive, but really like old as hell. So it's kind of like, well, what if you went back, you took Hitler out, but then you end up, somebody else came into power, took his spot, that was able to be more successful than Hitler. And maybe not as insanely driven as Hitler was more strategic, and then caused
So basically
Germany
someone
to
who
win the
actually
world.
listened to his generals.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if he would have listened, things would have definitely been different.
Yeah.
No, dude, if he would have listened, Dunkirk would have been over, and that would have like almost destroyed the British.
Right.
Mhm.
But because he decided, no, we're going to hold off, they were able to basically regroup.
Yeah.
So it's like, fucking hell. So I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be like someone more crazy could have come up. Maybe nothing would have happened at all.
Maybe not.
You know, maybe everything would have been hunky dory. But at the same time, you look at it like this, like, so a lot of medical shit and a lot of scientific shit happened because of the atrocities of World War II.
Yep.
Right. So would those have still been discovered? Like, because even recognition of psychological disorders and PTSD came about because of World War One.
Mhm.
So if we would have, let's say, stopped the assassination of Franz Duke Ferdinand, which then would have not allowed Hitler to get into the military. So maybe then he wouldn't have met those people who were radicalized. Maybe then, you know, all this other shit, right? So if we would have stopped World War One, would we be as psychologically advanced as we are in terms of knowing mental disorders and, you know, things like that? Even though we're still not the best at it, but we have like PTSD, we understand that a little better now. Would that have not happened? If World War II didn't happen, would we have some of the medical advances, and even though they were fucked up reasons on how we got those,
Yeah.
or even the technological advances, fucked up reasons why we got those, but would we have had those without the need for the military to be able to do what they did, or even for the German scientists, as fucked up as they did some of that shit, would we have been able to really advance as much as we have now?
And just like, even if you think of it also from like a military point of view, since I'm civilian, never, you know, enlisted and gone through the whole process and everything, but I've seen like documentaries and stuff on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially like, I guess the military academies and stuff where they teach, hey, this is what they did at this time, you know, like strategy wise.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, since there was, if you're able to do that, prevent World War II from happening, would all the officers and cadets stuff going through the academy now, they wouldn't know all that, the strategy stuff, you know, from learning from the history.
Because the Civil War was pretty much the start of the end of the formal fighting,
Right.
Mhm.
where it's you meet each other on a battlefield, everyone takes turns shooting at
Right.
each other, whoever has the least amount of deaths or whoever can charge first successfully wins.
Mhm.
And that was basically the end of that. That was when starting different tactics of flanking,
Mhm.
different ways, not sending everyone at the same time type of shit really started going on. And then World War One, that's how it originally started. And then it became trenches, and then technology advanced, and then horrific shit started happening that was never experienced before with machine guns and shit like that. So if all that would have been stopped, would, like you said, the tactics, would we still be fighting? Would there still be as many conflicts as we have now?
Right.
Or, you know, or would right now we'd be in a horrible war at the moment, like a
Right.
horrible world war,
Well, it's just like, you know, people say when we dropped the atom bomb
right?
on Japan and stuff like that, we learned exactly the results, what it does and stuff like that. Well, if the things with Japan never happened, never escalated to the point where we had to drop a nuclear bomb on them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what would that have, you know, changed?
Yeah, we probably would have delayed some more in-depth testing on everything.
I don't know.
It's a lot of things that you'd have to consider in that,
Mm-hmm.
all for the good and the bad.
Right.
Yep. I think we can call it on that. I like how this went from an episode of just what would you do to let's look into the past.
Yeah,
See
let's
what would
look
happen.
at possible butterfly effects here. Let's see how this would happen.
Right. See, this is why we don't script anything, because we don't know what the fuck's gonna happen.
Yep.
But
You
all
never
right.
know. Well, thank you for listening to this episode. God damn it.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
How many Flatland episodes have you listened to?
I've listened to probably made it maybe about halfway.
And out
So
of
you're
all
around
the
the
intros that
8-9 mark.
him and I have and outros that we have done.
Right. Just
Put them on the spot and everything just goes.
I know.
it
apparently.
does. It does. Talk about pressure.
Yeah, do it
Talk
again.
about
You guys, like,
pressure.
we started in my bedroom
Mhm.
on a plastic
Completely
table.
naked.
Wow.
I don't even remember that. But we started in my bedroom on a plastic fucking folding table
With a
and
cloth
socks
on
the mic
because those are the socks that were on our dicks, but we took them off and put them on that.
to this.
Interesting.
And
That is very interesting.
Technically, we started here and then went there to come back here.
true. All right, let's try this. If he gets off his fucking phone again.
Sorry, coming from the guy who was texting.
This is true.
True, yeah.
I'm the only one who hasn't been on his phone.
This is very true, but, you know, I've been asked to head to a bar, so.
Well, thank you for listening to today's episode of Flatlands Podcast. If you'd like to check out our social
You
media,
can go to our Twitter at Flatland Podcast. Our Instagram is Flatlands the Podcast.
You can also email us on our Gmail email at flatland, no S, flatland the podcast at gmail.com. I'll say that again. That is flatland the podcast at gmail.com. Make sure you give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Also follow us on Google Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify as well. And if you're listening to us on one of those 3, you are fucking fantastic.
Also, don't forget our hosting platform, podbean.com.
Podbean, you can
or
listen to us
Podbean
there.
app.
We don't mind. We have some people who listen on there and some people who have commented. We love you guys very much. If
like
I could,
Candy Gumdrops
I
and the
would-
guy who made a random
pod,
account.
one,
just
just a
don't
comment.
even remember his name, but yeah, he made a random.
I would give you guys
Count.
high fives. Also, shout out to the person who recognized my voice on the phone that one time. And
Yeah, comment if it's you.
yes,
We'd like to know.
Yeah, it would be like, I would love to know that if you still listen.
You made Jonathan's day.
Yes, I was like, oh my God, I'm so famous. But so
And we're also on YouTube.
yeah, we're also on YouTube. Almost forgot about that.
well, I tell you, man, it just goes. It goes.
This is, I think, the part where you go,
Right.
I'm Josh.
Yeah,
and-
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I'm Josh.
I'm Steven.
I'm Jonathan.
Good night.
We post this in the morning.
All right, everyone. Josh is still learning his podcast outros. So thank you very much for listening to Flatland the Podcast. You already got all of our names.
We will
love you
catch
guys.
you next week.
We'll see you guys next time.